El pueblo de México lo ha hecho posible.
Claudia Sheinbaum will make history by becoming the first ever female president in Mexico's 200-year history. She won a landslide victory in Sunday's election, securing more than 59% of the vote. The 61-year-old Nobel Prize-winning climate scientist was the favored successor of outgoing President Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
Este 2 de junio, nuevamente hicimos historia. ¡Viva la Cuarta Transformación! ¡Viva el presidente López Obrador! ¡Viva México! ¡Viva México! ¡Viva México!
Sheinbaum's Morena party was also projected to hold its majorities in both chambers of Congress. Her victory comes after an historic election day that saw significant numbers turn out to vote both in Mexico and abroad. More than 180,000 Mexicans voted at consulates and embassies around the world, including 60,000 who live in Madrid, where they queued for up to 9 hours to cast their vote. Sheinbaum has vowed to continue the policies of her predecessor.
La nueva presidenta de la República se enfrentará en este sexenio a importantes retos y desafíos como principalmente disminuir la inseguridad en el país o también la otra gran cuestión a la que tendrá que hacer frente, reducir la desigualdad. En México, Roberto Macedonio, Euronews.
President Zelenskyy has made an unexpected trip to the Philippines, where he urged leaders to attend a Swiss-organized peace summit on the Ukraine war. Ukraine's president arrived with heavy security in the capital of Manila and was welcomed with military honors. Zelenskyy seemed to indicate the Filipino president accepted his invitation to the summit, but it's unclear whether Marcos will attend personally. Ukraine has accused Russia, with the help of China, of trying to undermine the peace talks.
The European Union goes to the polls from Thursday through to Sunday this week. Citizens of its 27 countries will be voting for a new 720-member European Parliament, 15 more than in the previous election. One of the first decisions of the new assembly will be to elect the president of the Parliament, a vote which requires an absolute majority. Once that's done, next up is naming a president for the European Commission, a choice made by the members of the new Parliament. The same goes for aspiring commissioners. They will be interviewed by MEPs who'll decide whether to back or reject them. MEPs will then take part in drafting EU laws. Their role? Debating, amending, and finally negotiating proposals made by the Commission together with the EU Council. While neither Parliament nor the Council have the right to initiate a legislative procedure, they can request the Commission to and put forward a proposal. Two of Parliament's other big tasks are adopting the EU budget and scrutinising foreign policy. It must also greenlight any EU enlargement and all association treaties. Parliament also has the power to force the Commission to resign by adopting a motion of censure. A majority of MEPs will have to be on board, though. In 1999, in the light of a fraud and corruption scandal, the entire Commission was forced by Parliament to resign en masse.
Serbia's ruling populists have declared victory in Sunday's municipal elections, including a rerun vote in the capital, Belgrade. Prime Minister Miloš Vučević told reporters that the party had swept the board, winning all but 4 municipalities.
Od severa do juga, znači od Subotice do Niša I od Užica pa na istok, svuda gdje su održani izbori, naša lista Aleksandar Vučić, Srbija sutra, čista I ubedljiva pobjeda. Tako da, čestitam svim građanima.
President Alexander Vučić said his party had won a majority in the Belgrade City Assembly, most likely claiming 63 out of 110 seats.
Predstoji nam težak rad, predstoji mnogo problema. Naša lista Aleksandar Vučić, Srbija sutra, čista I ubedljiva pobjeda. Tako da, čestitam svim građanima. President Alexander Vučić said his party had won a majority in the Belgrade City Assembly, most likely claiming 63 out of 110 seats. Kao predsjednik Republike I kao prijatelj svim mojim ljudima mogu da kažem da očekuje nas teško vreme, užasno teško vreme za koje nismo ni krivi ni zaslužni, a tiče se spoljnopolitičke situacije I bit će samo teže.
But opposition politicians claim there were major irregularities at the polls. Skirmishes were reported in Novi Sad when opposition members tried to enter a hall packed with SNS activists and police moved in to stop them. Opposition officials also claimed that illicit call centers had been set up in some locations to contact supporters and urge them to turn out and vote.
Opet smo imali apsolutnu dominaciju SNS-a I Aleksandra Vučića u medije. I ovu kampanju obeležila je zapravo zloupotreba medija, lažne vesti, podmetačine, govor mržnje, a posebno u kontekstu rezolucije o genocidu u Srebrenici koji je korišten da se učesnici lokalnih izbora prikažu kao izdajnici I plaćenici I da se o lokalnim temama uopšte ne razgovara.
But the ruling Serbian Progressive Party said their activists' activities were in accordance with the law. Official results are expected to be released later on Monday.
Police in Dublin cleared tents from the city centre last month. Asylum seekers, with nowhere else to go, had pitched up outside the International Protection Office. Similar scenes have played out around Dublin's Grand Canal. Ireland has also been plagued for years with housing shortages and an understaffed healthcare system.
There is maybe what you might call a perfect storm. There's a shortage of housing in the state, and there is significant immigration, which are now sort of colliding, and the government is scrambling to deal with that.
Ireland is lacking up to 256,000 homes. According to the most recent figures from the Central Statistics Office, nearly 14,000 adults and children were in homeless accommodation in Ireland this March. That's a yearly jump of 16%. In this climate, some question whether the country is well placed to welcome migrants.
It's a kind of a complicated issue of why you can't build more houses. A few issues are A, planning, B, the price of land. There would be two of the big issues, and C, labor, again, the price of labor, So there are people who have been on waiting lists for sort of council houses or state houses for up to a decade. And what they're seeing then is these tales, sometimes apocryphal, mostly apocryphal, I think, of refugees being granted housing before them. So that certainly is fueling a far-right element.
Unlike France's Le Pen or Italy's Meloni, Ireland has yet to see the rise of an influential anti-immigrant politician. The upcoming EU and local elections will test public sentiment.
Rescue operations are ongoing as torrential rain and flooding continue to batter southern Germany. Baden-Württemberg and Bavaria have been particularly badly affected, with several communities subject to state of emergency orders and in some cases entire villages evacuated. Meteorologists estimate that some areas have received more rainfall in 24 hours than they normally get across a month. Germany's Vice-Chancellor Robert Habeck said the death of a firefighter reported on Sunday had knocked him off his feet.
Viele Menschen sind mit dem Leben davongekommen, aber haben wahrscheinlich erst einmal Haus und Eigentum jedenfalls beschädigt, möglicherweise verloren. Auch das muss man jetzt im Blick haben, dass sehr viele Menschen ratlos sein werden, nicht wissen, wie es weitergeht.
Meanwhile, a long-distance train derailed near the town of Schwäbisch Gmünd in Baden-Württemberg after the ground underneath the track gave way. The ICE train was then hit by a landslide. Deutsche Bahn said 185 passengers were on board, but none were hurt. The German rail operator has warned of extensive cancellations and delays across the network. At least one person has been killed and 8 others injured when an apartment building collapsed in Istanbul. The cause was not immediately clear as there were no reports of an explosion or seismic activity. The incident has renewed fears about the resilience of buildings in a city prone to earthquakes. Istanbul lies near the North Anatolian fault line, and an earthquake in the city in 1999 killed at least 18,000 people. Thousands of people have protested in Berlin against high rents and forced evictions. They're demanding radical changes to housing policy, including a national rent cap and a ban on arbitrary contract terminations. Over half of Germans live in rented accommodation, with 80% of Berlin's population renting their homes. According to a report released last month by the Berlin Hübbank, rents have increased by more than 18% to almost €14 per square metre. At least 14 people have been injured in a lightning strike in the northern Czech town of Liberec. It happened near the Castle Park in the town centre on Sunday afternoon. Medics say 3 people were resuscitated on the scene and another was airlifted to a hospital in the capital, Prague. A spokesperson for the local fire department said of the 14 people injured, 7 had sustained severe injuries. North Korea has said it would stop sending balloons carrying rubbish to South Korea, but promised to resume if anti-regime leaflets are flown over the border. The balloons started on Saturday, carrying rubbish like cigarette butts, paper waste and plastic. Pyongyang said they were in retaliation for a propaganda campaign by North Korean defectors and activists in the south. Seoul blasted the practice as unimaginably petty and promised unendurable countermeasures.